11 on the dot, 10 in Denver. All right. So first of all, thanks everyone for taking the time. I know you guys are busy. I know it's a crazy market. We have a lot of headwind coming up. So I wanted to get one of my greatest friends. I've known him for probably 15 years. Mentor, personal coach. I can't say enough about the guy that his resume doesn't say itself. So Ben is the #1 Wall Street Journal best-selling author for his book Uncommon Leadership. He's a performance coach for Alabama football, if anyone's ever heard of that. He handles players from 4 Super Bowl teams as a mindset coach, a performance coach. The Miami Dolphins. He's been recognized as a top 50 speaker in the world, and he's one of the most disciplined people I've ever met. Discipline will win in this market. It's what we all need. Motivation's cool, but it's fleeting. So discipline, in my opinion, is what I've been working on specifically for a while now, and we can all be better about it. Every morning, Ben texts me between 2:30 Denver time, and he's only an hour ahead, and about 5:30 a.m. And this is after he does what's called the unrequired workout. So he does his regular workout like most of us do. And then he does what's called the unrequired workout, which is 250 air squats in a row, 4-minute and 44-second plank straight, 4-minute and 44-second reverse plank with your feet 6 inches off the ground straight, 44 push-ups twice, 2 sets straight, 250 jumping jacks, 4 sets of 44 abs, 4 sets of 44 cardio bursts. I can't even read all this. Kettlebell curls, calf raises, wall sits, like that's discipline. And this is a testament to that. This is actually day 1105 that you've done this in a row. Is that today?
Yes. But now you've just proven to everybody that I'm certifiably nuts and my screws are loose. And so why would anybody want to listen to anything that I have to say?
That's about right. That's about right. Well, we admire you a lot. And again, thanks for the time and letting, friends and family and people I've worked with in the past and work with currently and people that just need a little bit of guidance in this market, especially right now, fear setting in. Market's weird. Like I said, there's a bunch of headwind. And I think now's the time when champions will be born, like legends will be made in this market. It's cool to do a bunch of volume and close a bunch of deals in a market where you're taking orders and everyone else is too, right? When we get into a market like this will probably be my 3rd one. I've been in this almost 20 years. The strong get stronger and the weak kind of go away. So, having you here is a testament to what we want to do and how committed we are to getting through this thing, and the best way to get through it and the only way we're going to get through it is together. So I'll let you take it away after one last thing. Ben is also putting on together what's called the Mental Toughness Forum. If you guys want to mark your calendars for August 2nd through the 6th, it's going to be Ben Newman, Tom Izzo, Andy Frisella, 75 Hard, Ed Milet, Ray Lewis, Jim Rohn. It's the who's who. Ben has probably the best network of motivational speakers and performance coaches and athletes that I've ever, come across in my life. So I think it's going to be super cool for whoever can make it to that, even if it's in sections, be on it, learn from it. There's about 50,000 people registered for it, and Ben's giving it away for free. So thanks so much.
Well, Brett, I appreciate it. And I think what drives me, and that's the ability to help people kind of rise up off that mat of life, especially during those periods of time where there's uncertainty and challenge. I'm currently going through that. Each and every single one of you is currently going through that. But I've recognized in my life that how you respond to challenge and adversity determines the story that you write. And I think the unique opportunity today, and Brett, you know how I feel about you and our relationship and friendship, to you taking me to get some of the best steak that I've ever had in my entire life at whatever that place was in Denver, to sporting events. We've had some great memories, and I look forward to many, many more together. But I think one of the things that you highlighted earlier, and, if you really pay attention, Brett picked all the stuff that he wanted you to hear, right? He didn't tell you that I get knocked down just like you guys do. He didn't tell you that I have 2 coaches and I read books every single day because I'm still trying to figure it out myself. He just told you all the things he wanted you to hear. But the reality is we are all in this fight together. And Brett highlighted that I might be able to share some things with all of you. Really, what I would love to spend our time together doing today is highlighting what already makes you great. I think a lot of times when we're in current financial climates like this, it's almost like our perspective changes, right? There's a shift in our perspective. We either listen to the fears, the doubts, the uncertainties, the self-talk that many of us have from that little voice that sits on your shoulder, or you shift your perspective. You know, for Brett and for many of you that have been in this industry for a long time, you recognize like you'll make it through. And the individuals who actually choose to stay in the game and continue to do the things that have made you great are the ones who will actually win more, gain market share, and you will grow together. As opposed to many individuals who focus on the things that they can't control. They focus on the negativity, they focus on the fears, they focus on the doubts, and they sit on the sideline and they choose to do nothing with a wait and see mentality. I'm just here to kind of highlight the different perspective to say, why wouldn't you choose to get into the game? Why would, and I'm not saying that there's anybody that's not in the game that's currently on this Zoom, but I think for all of you, choose to stay in the game. There's a couple of words that I love that for many of you that we've had the opportunity to spend time together, you've probably heard me say these or seen me post them online. Discipline wins. Now, when I say discipline wins, that doesn't mean that I'm going to recommend that you guys do the crazy workout that Brett had to tell you that I've done for, over 1,100 straight days. I wouldn't recommend that. But there's probably things that you enjoy doing that keep your mind right to make it through tough times like this. So I just want to encourage you to do those things that make you feel great so that you can win with great discipline, regardless of what happens with interest rates. I think that's the unique thing about seeing this screen is you have people from the Baird team. There's all these strategic partners, and there's all this opportunity of individuals who are going to continue to win during this period of time. And so you have to ask yourself, how are you going to show up every day? What is your discipline going to look like? And I'm not just talking about closing deals. Is it reading books? Is it getting in workouts? Living to the standard that you know is going to make you feel great so that you can control your mindset. What typically holds people back during times like this is the self-talk and a lack of discipline because you're scared, because you're fearful, because it might be painful, because you might go through change. But I've always found during climates like this, your greatest strength as an individual and your greatest strength as a team is typically forged during times like this. So I'm just going to encourage all of you to just stay connected to the disciplines that make you great. Do the things that make you feel good. Now, I know that sounds easy rolling off the tongue. So let me just share a story. Because, right, I mean, I could come on here. This is exactly what we expected, right? Brett brings his motivational buddy on here to just tell us to just stay positive and everything's going to be great. Well, first off, a lot of times people do kind of throw me into that category of motivational, inspirational speaker. That I am not. I'm a coach. And so what I hope we can share today, and we'll have some time for Q&A at the end, as well as the ability for us to highlight a couple of things that I'd like to do to just give to each and every single one of you. So I do want everybody to take a big, deep breath. Brett did not invite me on here to sell anybody anything. I'm not here to sell my books. I always do a better job of selling other people's books than I do my own. The Mental Toughness Forum is a free week-long event. We'll get you guys the link for that. I just want to spend this time with you as part of this team. And I think that's what, Brett and I, our conversation is, Brett, let me spend time with the team because I am part of the team. And I think that's really the opportunity today is for me to share some things that I've learned from a coaching perspective, not a motivational, inspirational perspective, that can help you show up with great discipline during this period of time that we're in, and for you to win maybe at your highest possible levels that you've ever won at. A little bit of a story. I want to take you back to November 2nd. So if you can picture St. Louis, Missouri, that's where I live, born and raised for me. So November 2nd, St. Louis, Missouri. I do a lot of traveling for my work in the sports world as well as the business world. But when I'm in town, I always love taking my children to school. So this was a handful of years ago, November 2nd. If you can picture, we're in the car. I'm driving my kids to school. After I dropped my kids off at school, I had planned that day to go to a location that I'd been to hundreds of times in my life prior. And when I say hundreds of times in my life prior, I'm talking about my car probably could have just driven itself to the location that I would go to after I drop my kids off at school. Drop the kids off, I start heading towards this location. If you can picture this, heading down the exact same route that I always take, and then now it's to the point where I'm gonna have to take a left-hand turn into these big stone gates, big wrought iron gates. There's stone on each side and these big wrought iron gates. They happen to be open, and I make a left-hand turn. As I make this left-hand turn, I curve up into this roundabout, and every single time I come to this location, I park in the exact same place every single time. So I peel off, you can picture, I park my car, open up the door, my feet hit the ground, I make my way to the back of the car, and now if you can picture this, I'm looking at a long pathway, and this pathway, you can tell that it's aged. The location that I'm at is very old. The reason how you can tell is because the path that I'm about to walk on, it's not even, right? It's raised in certain locations. And it's because of the trees, because the place is so old that the trees have grown up from beneath it, raising the path in different areas. Also on top, you can see that it's covered in leaves. Remember, it's November. It was kind of a hot November day. I proceed to put one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other, as I make my way down this path until I get to this one spot where I make a right-hand turn, the exact same place every single time. I make a right-hand turn, I come around, and now if you can picture this, I'm standing in front of a big red, it's a huge stone heart. I'm talking huge stone heart. I'm looking right at this heart. Down at the bottom of this heart, it points to Jan Fishman Newman. It says September 18th, 1948 to November 2nd, 1986. For those of you that were paying attention, I said November 2nd, 1986. And when I started this story, I shared that the date was November the 2nd. Every single year, I go and I visit my mother's tombstone. I've been doing this since I was a 7-year-old boy. My mother passed away from a rare muscle disease called amyloidosis. So if you can picture this, I'm now a 43-year-old man. So for 36 years, I've been going back and looking at this tombstone, this big oversized tombstone that points to my mother's name with a date that illustrates that her life ended far too soon, but with a quote that says, "Life is not measured in distance traveled, but rather by the path taken." And when I read that quote, it's a reminder to me of how my mother chose to live her life, battling a rare muscle disease called amyloidosis. My mother was given 2 to 4 years to live in 1983. My mother was told by one of the 2 foremost leading experts in the world, there are only 2 hospitals in the United States treating amyloidosis. Many people don't even know what amyloidosis is. Each and every single one of you in your muscles, you have amyloids. If you have an excess of amyloids, it'll eat away at your muscles, it'll take your life. Your heart, of course, is a muscle. So here my mother is told by one of the foremost leading experts in Boston, 2 hospitals in the United States treating it, you're the second woman under 40 years old we've ever seen or heard of having amyloidosis, and you just have those 2 to 4 years to live. And what my mother taught me was that every single day is a gift. Every single day is an opportunity. My mother, if you can picture this, as a 7-year-old boy, my mom had this little TV room and then she had her bedroom behind it. And I remember when 24-hour nursing care came in, removed all of the belongings from my mother's TV room and replaced it with the makings of a 24-hour nursing center. Yet every single night, without fail, my mother, divorced when I was 6 months old, never knew my parents together. A mother fighting to make ends meet, dying before my brothers and my eyes with 24-hour nursing care in the house, would stand outside this TV room, now turned into a hospital, with an IV stand in tow, and she'd put 1 foot in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other, 1 foot in front of the other. So she would get to the head of that dining room table. And she would pan over to the right at my older brother, Drew, and say, Drew, how was your day at school? And then she would pan over to the left and she would look me dead square in the eyes with these big brown eyes that she had. And she would say, honey, how was your day at school? Did you guys notice that I got the honey because I was the younger son? I got to try to get you guys to smile just a little bit, because after that bio talking about me working with football teams and all this type of stuff, you're probably thinking, what the? I've got a story. And my story is that I have had to live life. And I've had to live the tough times. I had to grow up faster than I would ever wish on any young child. There's things that I had to go through when my mother passed away November 2nd, 1986, and my father moved back into the house that I would never wish upon anybody. Father never put a hand on me, but sometimes your words are worse than fists. And that's my struggle, and that's my story, and that's my pain. As a 43-year-old man, Brett can tell you, we've had some tears together. I'm an emotional dude. I cry when I watch Extreme Home Makeovers. So it's the way that I am, and it's the way that I'm always going to be. But I've recognized that my story and how my mother showed up in life has taught me what it means to show up when you just don't feel like it. And I think for so many of you right now, that's a lesson that maybe we haven't slowed down to think about it. It's okay that you don't feel like it right now. But neither did my mom when she wanted to be an example for my brother and I that purpose overtakes pain. My mother understood that there were two sets of eyes that were watching her choose to either show up to that dining room table or not show up to that dining room table. And I don't know about you in your life right now. Maybe you're a godfather, or a godmother. Maybe you're a mother. Maybe you're a father. Maybe you're a friend. But there's probably somebody who their little eyes are watching you. And their little eyes are paying attention to how you show up. And their little eyes are paying attention to the example that you are setting right now, regardless of what's going on in the economy, regardless of what's going on with interest rates. And I wanted to start here emotionally with each and every single one of you, because if we don't start here, it doesn't matter where we try to go. It doesn't matter the conversation we want to have. Each and every single one of us has to recognize there's a burn or a fire inside of you that's going to be an opportunity for you to connect to that, to determine whether or not you actually want to show up in this tough period of time that we're going in. And I encourage you, as I recognize I'm not the only individual that has a story. Every single one of you, there is a story. There is a story of challenge. There's a story of pain. There's a story of tough times. There's a relative that means a lot to you that maybe went through a similar medical trial that I went through or my mother went through. And so all I'm encouraging you to do is to shift your perspective and to recognize you've probably been through things that are tougher than a rise in interest rates. Don't be like the individuals who choose to wait on the sidelines because they don't understand what you guys understand, which is you 100% control your mindset. Every day is an opportunity for you to wake up and to connect to what I call the burn. We have a podcast. Our podcast is called The Burn. And every single week there's different celebrities, entertainers, entrepreneurs. And we get right down to it. They're short episodes because I don't like watching long podcasts. So they're 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And it's just people sharing their stories of their burn. And there's a lot of coaches and speakers that do the work that I do. They talk about why and they talk about purpose. But I believe they miss the most important aspect of your choice with how you connect every day through good times and bad times, and it's your burn. It's that underlying fire that ignites your why and purpose that then causes you to take the disciplined action every day to live to your standard. Every single one of you, you know what it looks like to win. You know what it feels like to win by being disciplined in making great decisions and living to a standard regardless of what interest rates are. And I'm not just talking about picking up the phone and spending time in your relationships in this industry and contacting Brett, contacting a member of his team, talking to this real estate agent, talking to this, and however you conduct. I'm not just talking about business. I'm talking about how disciplined you are with your nutrition, how disciplined you are with reading, how disciplined you are with going for a walk every day, breaking a sweat, doing the little things to help others. You know, John Wooden, who's arguably one of the greatest coaches to ever coach anything, 10 championships in 12 years at UCLA, he used to say, you cannot have a great day till you've done something for somebody else with no expectation of anything in return. So how about we all choose, as part of this Baird team and all the strategic partners that partner with the Baird team, let's all give more of ourselves to a world that needs love. Let's be a positive influence on helping people realize that you can conduct business. You can be positive. You can continue to attack. You can continue to win. And you can actually choose to get in the game during periods of time like this. And I believe for all of us, it starts with that connection to the burn. It starts with you being intentional when you wake up in the morning to say, you know what? The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to connect to that deep-rooted fire. Maybe it's somebody that has sacrificed for you and you say, I will not waste the opportunity I've been given. Maybe it happens to be somebody that you're currently sacrificing for to provide opportunity. Maybe it's pain or challenge like I've been through. I'm not the only one that has a story. I'll say it again. Every single one of you has a story connecting to that pain to say, I've been through worse. I'll be an example of what it looks like to win during these times. When you choose to connect to a mindset like that, your action will follow. Your disciplined action will follow. But far too many individuals, what they're paying attention to now is what they see on the news and what's going on in politics and all the negativity, and markets are down and interest rates are up. And they're focused on things they can't control rather than slowing down to identify, here's what it takes for me to win every day. I call it a prize fighter day. I am not going to have time to dive into every one of you designing a prize fighter day today, but here's gift number one that I'm going to give you. We actually, for the purpose of this call, I contacted our creative director and I said, can you create a dual link so that Brett's team and their strategic partners, we can make this as easy as possible. So if everybody goes to freeplaybook.net, the 4th edition of Your Mental Toughness Playbook. So I've been using the same tools in our coaching work since 2014. If you go to freeplaybook.net, everybody will get a free virtual copy, so an ebook copy of Your Mental Toughness Playbook. It has all the tools, right? I told you, I'm giving you guys this for free. I'm not selling you guys anything today. This is how much Brett's relationship means to me and how much I want you guys to win right now. In the playbook, there's 2 things I'd love for you to start with. There's an exercise on connecting to your burn. There's a 30-day burn challenge. It's going to challenge you to make changes in your environment, to be intentional, to connect to that burn that drives you, so you recognize you do have control of your mindset the moment your feet hit the floor every day. There's also the exercise of the prize fighter day, which will help you break down the decisions and choices that'll give you the highest probability of winning one day at a time. And even though you see some championship rings that are over my head behind me, that's not how I define winning. I actually define winning by your ability, whether it's Brett, whether it's Alex, whether it's Israel, your ability to look in the mirror at the end of every day and say, today I gave it my very best. If you and the members of your team look in the mirror every day and say, today I gave it my very best, nobody can ever ask any more of you than your very best, and you can never ask any more of yourself than your very best. If you're living to your feelings, you're living to your self-talk, you're not living to your standard, you can't be honest with yourself at the end of the day about how you're showing up, and you won't win as much. You will be forced to be on the sideline because you're making a choice to not get in the game. Now, this is the period of time, I guess it's Brett, because I'm starting to give stuff away for free. This vein starts popping out of my neck and I start getting all passionate and fiery. But I told you, I'm a coach. I'm not a motivational speaker. So I know these things make a difference, especially during periods of time when you're telling yourself, I don't want to do it. Or you're saying the system, it's not set up for me to win right now. And so this playbook will take you through designing all of the things. And I should almost say it this way. It's going to help you reconnect to what you already know you need to do on a daily basis in order to win. And it's going to help you design what those days look like. Now, remember I said there's a dual benefit. When you punch in your email for freeplaybook.net, it's going to email you the ebook version of this, but it'll also sign you up for the Mental Toughness Forum for free. So you guys will be all set with that one link. I wanted to make it as easy as possible for you guys. And then August 2nd through the 6th, it's a virtual on-demand event. You'll get an email every morning, 6 to 7 speakers every single day, 10 to 15-minute videos on mental toughness, how to get up off that mat of life, from athletes, entertainers, celebrities. You guys will love it, and you watch it on demand. You don't have to watch it live. It's not at a certain period of time. We wanted our team to design something that would allow you to kind of take in the content as you need it, so that you realize you're not alone during this period of time. All right, so I'm throwing a lot out at you. You've got your burn, okay? If you're struggling with what your burn is, I promise you this playbook will help you identify it. Then we're going to reshift your environment to connect to it. You heard me say the word standard being prize fighter day. You also heard me with a pretty strong sense of conviction. I know that you can win during periods of times like this. How do I know? And you also heard me say, when you feel like the system is against you, I'm not set up to win right now. I know many of you, and I don't want anybody to raise their hand or nod their heads, but if we're being honest with ourselves, market's down, interest rates up, it's easy to look in the mirror and say, you know what, it's just not for me. Whatever we get right now. But you know what, it's just going to be a trying period of time. Some people will do that. Other people are going to say, I will gain market share and I will win. A case study I can share with you is the Alabama football team in 2020. I shared with Brett yesterday, we had one of our coaching calls, and he was just kind of talking about how he cares about all of the strategic partners in his team and how much belief he has in the ability to win right now. And he was all fired up about this call. I think he would have wanted to have pushed the link up to yesterday so he could do it yesterday. I'm like, hey, get a good meal, get a good night's sleep. We'll attack it tomorrow morning. But he was ready to go yesterday. And the reason why was because he was so excited to show that he wants to unite with all of you right now, not wait on the sideline, get in the game. And that's exactly what Alabama did in 2020. It's been a blessing for me to work with the Alabama football program. I've had the opportunity to work with some of the greatest coaches to ever walk the face of the earth, some of the greatest athletes to ever walk the face of the earth. And I can share with you, this Alabama team in 2020 was maybe one of the most special teams I was ever around. I learned so much from watching these young men show up. This was the COVID year. This was the COVID year of college football. And so there were plenty of teams, for those of you who follow sports, who said, well, we have to test and we have to do this. There were conferences that said, not interested. They shut down the season. We're not even going to attempt to play. We're not even going to attempt to set up guidelines to see if we can. They just said, that's it. We're going to quit. Do not allow that to be you. There were other teams who said, well, depending upon this, that, or the other, maybe we'll play this week. But if it appears that the chips are stacked against us, we may just say, we're not going to play in that game. And so there were teams that played 6 games. There were teams that played 8 games. And then there were teams that showed up and played every single game that was on their schedule. Before I talk to you about how the season played out, let me just take you back to the choices that the players made. Because right now, in terms of how you think, whether or not you connect to your burn, whether or not you decide to create what it looks like to win, it's going to come down to the decisions that you make every single day and who you choose to partner with. You're either going to partner with individuals like the Bear team. They are set to win an attack. And so are you, otherwise you wouldn't be on this call. Or you're going to determine that you're going to wait. Be like Alabama. Go design the environment that causes you to win. There's a guy named Landon Dickerson. For those of you who really follow the NFL, Landon is just unbelievable. One of the greatest leaders I've ever been around. Landon took it upon himself to go to Coach Ballou at Alabama and said, how much equipment will you let me take home? Because they weren't allowed to train. They weren't allowed to train at the facility because of COVID. So he goes to the head strength coach. He's got a big old truck. He gets other players' trucks and he says, how much equipment will you let me take to my house? He loads up these trucks with equipment and he goes and he builds a gym at his house. The coaches were not allowed to spend time with the players, so Landon designed a training schedule for the players, and they were allowed to train in small groups, only a certain number. So they ran schedules, they kept their social distance, and they literally took ownership of running training themselves. By the time they were allowed back into the building, they had united. They already in their mind made the choice. There's people who are not going to work out. There's people who are maybe going to sit at home and do curls. There are people that are going to do nothing. We chose to stay together as a team. So by the time they got in the building, they knew they were already ahead of the other teams. Then they decided, we're going to have leadership meetings, just like this meeting. We could call this our Alabama leadership meetings. The Bear team strategic. Maybe we need to do this more than once. Maybe we need to do this over the next year 2 or 3 times. The mental toughness forum we've got next month. Let's choose to stay together and stay focused on the things that are going to cause you to win. And that's what these leaders did. Devontae Smith, Smitty, who won the Heisman Trophy, one of my favorite athletes I've ever worked with. I love Smitty to death. Just supported his first camp last week that he did for kids. I mean, he's an amazing young man. Mac Jones has become one of the closest. Mac was just at my house the other day. His girlfriend's from St. Louis. She finally got him back to St. Louis. And so my kids got to catch balls from him. We're playing basketball in the backyard and swimming in the pool for 4th of July. I mean, these special kids, it's about relationships. And so I bonded with these kids. They bonded with their coaches. They bonded with each other. But the Mac Jones, the Smitties, the Landon Dickersons, they had these regular leadership meetings. And they just poured into each other. And they stayed focused on what they could control. They said, it doesn't matter if a team can't play on Saturday or they choose not to play, we'll be ready to play. And if they put 60 minutes on that clock, we'll give them all they can handle and we'll make them quit before we get to the 4th quarter. Their mentality didn't change. And they ended up playing every single game. And they ended up playing Ohio State in the national championship game. And here's what's interesting, why I highlight Ohio State. If you have any Ohio State fans, I'm sorry, I'm not going to apologize. I don't like how Ryan Day handled the situation during COVID. My alma mater, Coach Tom Izzo, the basketball coach, and Coach Tucker just brought me back to Michigan State to start working with them. So now I'm competing against Ohio State again. So I apologize to the Ohio State fans. But Ryan Day, he decided to play 6 football games that year. There were a handful of games where he said, yeah, we're not going to play. We're not going to have the players that I want healthy. So we're just not going to play. So by the time they showed up, Alabama had already played over 10 games. They had played 6. Mentally, they weren't even forged as a team because they just picked and chose when they wanted to show up. So lesson 1 of this story is you have to choose to show up consistently and play the game every day. If you want to have a significant pipeline, regardless of interest rates, if you want to do a high level of business, if you want to compete to win, you're going to have to choose to live to the standard every day. Every day is game day. Now, I'm not saying you're not going to take vacations and do these things, but if you have a scheduled work day, just as Alabama showed up and said, we're going to play every game, that's what kept them in the game. Choosing to play, choosing to practice kept them in the game. Because Ohio State only decided, they made the choice, we're really only going to play half the season. And then we're going to complain that we should be allowed to make it into the playoff. They were never prepared. Those players at Alabama already knew it doesn't matter. Ohio State is not going to be able to compete with us because they don't have the leadership. They didn't put the workouts in the summer. They didn't show up to play all their games, and they're not even sure if they want to play today. And we went down to Miami, and we absolutely, for 60 minutes, dominated Ohio State. And Ohio State, probably somewhere between the end of the second quarter and halftime, made a conscious choice, we're quitting. And even though they continued to play the final 30 minutes of that football game, they quit. And the result of that, as I shared with you, and I'm not showing this to impress you guys, it's to impress upon the point. If you guys choose to stay in the game, you will win. This is the national championship ring from that year. So if you choose to stay in this fight right now, whatever this ring looks like, and knowing Baird, he'll probably make some rings for you guys, right? He'll have some fun and design some special Baird team and strategic partners rings. You can see he's making a note. He loves that idea. And hey, if you do, I want one of those rings too, because I know that you guys are going to continue to win, Baird. And I'm going to take it, I'm going to put it right here. And then I'm going to tell a story about you guys. I'm going to pull that ring out and I'm going to say, let me tell you about this team in the mortgage industry that said, hey, we are going to stay in the game. I don't care what's going on with real estate. I don't care what's going on with mortgages. This is a team that said, we're going to stay together. We're going to have constant communication. We're going to win together. We're going to find all the ways that we can be different during this period of time. That's what Alabama did, and that's why they got that ring. And that's what I encourage you to do during this period of time, is stay connected to your burn. Stay connected to the reason why you are going to fight. Stay connected to the fact that you're an example for somebody with a little set of eyes like I had watching my mom. And there's somebody watching you and how you show up, even though it's really tough right now. We can't say that it's not tough. It is. But you choose the mindset that you show up with every day. You get to decide how you work every day. You get to decide who you partner with during periods of time like this. Teams that want to win, that are willing to do the extra, or the individuals who are willing to just wait and see what happens. Live to your standard. Look in that mirror just one day at a time and say, today I'm going to give it my very best. I control what it looks like to win. I control what it looks like to be a great strategic partner, to be a great team member, and know that you all can win together. I'm going to open it up to Brett for some questions and some answers, and then maybe give that about 5 or 10 minutes. And then I do have a final story that I'd like to share that I think will be fitting, knowing that I've done this a few times. I've helped many teams through different industries, through ups and downs of financial climates, fight and win. But I definitely want to address questions that you all have before we continue. Brett?
Ben, thanks so much for that. I think the timing for this is pretty close to perfect. I've been getting texts from guys on the call here, and it seems like timing's great on this. So we appreciate you again. Who has a question for Ben here? Alex Chapman. Looking at you, handsome.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's more of a question as much as I'll just echo the timing of this is perfect. I think we're all on this call trying to find motivation when you are losing. So I think I just want to thank, I'm just humbled to even be on the call. So I'm going to thank Brett and Ben, you guys, for taking the time out of your days to do this so that we can all be part of this, because I'm searching right now. I have a huge team and I'm trying to keep everyone in the game. So I just want to thank you guys for allowing me to be part of it.
Thank you, Alex. I appreciate those words. One thing, if I could just share kind of you realize this with me, if I can share things that give that action step, that's most important. And I think what you share is really common, right? There's big teams. What do we do? How do we engage? And there's a conversation that I always have about the difference between a required mindset and an unrequired mindset. So the unrequired are the things that other people can't see, they won't do, they don't even want to talk about, that the highest performers choose to make a priority. But the psychology of an unrequired mindset is you can't do the extra until you've done what's required of you. And so what I encourage you to do, and share the link with I don't care how big your team is, share the link with your entire team, go get them to download the playbook, find ways. And the thing about a prize fighter day, every member of your team, and this, I know I'm sharing this answer to Alex, but this is really for everybody. Every member of your team, they're going to choose what their prize fighter day is. You're not going to design it for them. So once they choose it, they now say, that's what's required of me to win right now. And then that's where your leadership can come in and say, I love it. It's perfect. I love what you chose personally. I love what you chose professionally. I love what you chose in serving others. Here's the question I have for you. What's the little bit extra you're willing to do? And that's the unrequired. So now let's say I need to send So I call them points of contact. I do a lot of sales training. So a point of contact, I call it a POC, text message, email, phone call. That's a POC, point of contact. I'm open for business. So let's say if somebody says 20 POCs is my best. If I do that every day, I'll have a full calendar. I'll have a strong pipeline. It'll be refis. It'll be new purchases. Like, we won't slow down. It might be tough, but we're going to win big. Encourage that person. Okay, what's your unrequired? Add 10%. Not do twice as much, 3 times as much. Here's why I say 10%. Because them doing the extra 2, which is the unrequired, psychologically commits to more consistency on the 20. Because if you commit to doing the unrequired, then you have to do what's required of you. And so for all of you, you have to remember, you control your mindset. The difference between 20 and 22 is really not a lot. Compounded over time, it's a big difference. But the real difference comes in that if you say, I'm going to do the unrequired every day, you're not going to stop at 15. You're not going to stop at 14. You're not going to allow the great month that you had last month, even though everybody else is challenged and failing and not doing well. Don't allow your feelings to dictate how you show up. Standard over feelings. There's a whole section in this book on standard over feelings. We can't be seduced by success. Win one day at a time. Doesn't matter if yesterday was great. If I've got 5 closings on Friday and it's going to be the best day I've ever had in the business, we still have to show up on Wednesday and do what we said we were going to do. So that unrequired versus required mindset can really help those people that you're leading engage during times like this.
Thank you very much.
Yep. You're welcome.
Yeah, excellent answer. Mr. Brett, other Brett.
What's up, Brett?
Hey, buddy.
Hey, man.
Give him a question. What are you struggling with?
Hey, Ben. So, you know, I think just getting started with committing, what's something that just bare bones basic thing that we should be doing? What, you know, it's not going to be 7,000 jump squats every morning, but what's something the first thing when I jump out of bed, or that that I'm really, you know, trying to start my day? Is it reading? Is it a workout? What do I do? How do I get started with the commitment to myself?
Well, first off, Brett, I appreciate that you're still on here 45 minutes into the call, because you easily could have turned it off and said, there's something wrong with this dude when he told you all the crazy stuff that I choose to do. That's the crazy stuff that I choose to do that I built up to. And so it's a great question that I think everybody has to pay attention to that question. Where do I start? I didn't start doing this crazy workout. I started where it was my buddy and I, we would plank, and then we would add a little bit extra, and then we'd add a little bit extra till we built this workout. But we started with planking. And so I typically encourage people, start as simple as it sounds, just break a sweat. For those of you that have said, my goodness, I love working out, but I've just become so undisciplined. I don't care if you start with walking the dog for a week, walk the dog for 5 straight days. If you're getting the heat that we're getting in St. Louis, then you'll break a sweat on a 20 or 30-minute walk, but start somewhere. Walk the dog for a week. Then maybe you start jogging with the dog. I think far too often, people don't realize in the creating of habits that if you push too hard in the creation of the habit, naturally in our minds, we're going to quit after 2 or 3 days or 4 days or 5 days. So I think what you have to recognize is, what's the long-term goal? What do I want to get to? What do I want to get to by the end of the year? And let's start with simple disciplines and stack on top of them. Also, you know, you mentioned the reading of books. Everybody knows how they're wired. Some people love watching YouTube videos that motivate them every day. If you love watching videos like that, watch the videos every morning. If you like going on Instagram and listening to certain things or looking for certain things, make sure you do those things in the morning. You know, for me, at least 10 pages a day of reading, it's an outlet for me. I can turn my mind off. I can educate myself. I feel like I'm improving. Like, that's a big win for me every day. So I think everybody's different, and you just have to identify, when you create that personal aspect of your prize fighter day, what does Brett want to do every day? It doesn't have to be an hour-long run, Brett. It could be something really simple that you commit to, that you own, that you can then build on.
Love it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alfredo.
Hi, Brett, and hi, Ben. Thank you very much for for this presentation. It's been amazing. And Ben, my question is very similar to Brett. I saw you speaking a few months ago, and you were telling the story about this financial advisor in Florida. That one of the things I think he mentioned to you was that it was very hard for him to go back home if he didn't met his standard for that day, or something to that matter. My question is how or where to start in building that standard, or to create this requirement that you have to meet before going home, that you really know that you did your best, and that if you didn't meet your standard, then you feel like absolute crap. Like how to maximize that feeling, or to create that standard that really like itches or burns within you.
Well, Alfredo, first off, I appreciate you remembering our time together, just here a little bit ago, and remembering that story specifically. And I've been given permission to share the story. So it's actually about a client of mine. His name is Claudio, down in Orlando, Florida. Kind of total side note, but everybody say a prayer. His wife just went into labor this morning. We were supposed to actually have a coaching call, and they're getting ready to have their third child. So exciting times for Claudio. But Alfredo, what you're actually referring to is a few years ago, Claudio was pushing to hit a really big goal to finish #1 in his region for his company. And we're driving in the car, and I asked him the question. I said, Claudio, what makes you great? Now, I've had the blessing of coaching Claudio for almost 9 years. He's probably in the top 0.001% of all of financial advisors in the entire world. I mean, he's just extraordinary in terms of how he shows up. And so I love asking the question of high performers, what makes you great? And his answer was, if I don't do what I said I was going to do today, the amount of guilt that I live with is too much for me to handle. I would rather just do the work. And that is standard over feelings. So what he identified was and his are POCs, the things that I teach and share. But when I do this work every day, I know the byproduct is results. If I do 20 POCs a day, the byproduct is a busy calendar. The byproduct is I'll show opportunities for people to buy. The byproduct is a busy pipeline. The byproduct is big months. So I just have to choose that every day. Otherwise, I have too much guilt. Now, I will share the powerful part of his story. If you remember, Alfredo, he is first generation from Brazil. His parents had great jobs in Brazil. They left Brazil to come to the United States to have jobs. I mean, cleaning bathrooms and janitor. I mean, like handyman type jobs, not the jobs they had in Brazil, just so that their kids could maybe have an opportunity. And so every day he feels this responsibility, this burn in him that I better own every single day. And he calls it stacking bricks. I better go stack another brick today, because my parents didn't leave Brazil for me to not take advantage of this opportunity. And so he deeply connects to that burn, which then deeply connects to that mindset. I better do the work one day at a time. And because he's done that, he's been able to win through ups and downs of financial climates, including COVID and adversity. He's actually one of the speakers too. His story is so powerful. He's one of the speakers for the Mental Toughness Forum, and his resume speaks for itself. But Alfredo, I appreciate you remembering that, but it really comes down to he connects to his burn and he does what he says he's going to do every day. So if that story meant a lot to you, I'm going to be direct. I can see you got some fire in you and a desire to want to win. I've seen you on here taking notes the entire time and being locked in. So I appreciate that. But I want to share with you, there's a lot of people in this world that they tell you how great they want to be, but your action is what tells the real story. And I think that's the real opportunity for all of us right now as a team, and all of you. It's different organizations. That's why I say I like strategic partners, because you're different organizations that have an opportunity to be with winners who want to win right now. But each of you is going to have to choose to take action. You can't just wake up every day and say, I'm going to go make it happen, and then allow your mind to win. We got to take action every day. Whatever that action is, action every day. We got to stack those wins on top of themselves. Build that pipeline regardless of interest rates. Go attack and help your clients who we know need it. There's people who are going to refinance their houses. There are people who are going to buy houses. Let the individuals who are on this Zoom call be the ones who are conducting that business, because you're staying in the game.
Well, thank you very much. You held yeah, I mean, definitely, I just, from what you just said, I realized that just connected to that sacrifice that others did for me, same example as my parents coming from Venezuela, I think that's going to be the fire. That's going to burn. So thank you.
Awesome. Be that example, Alfredo. Be that example every day. Somebody's watching you, and you're going to instill belief in them that they can do it too.
Thank you.
How about one more question? Israel raised his hand. Go ahead, Israel.
Okay, I had two questions, Ben. At what time do you
We're
wake up
only
every
allowed
morning?
one. I told Brett to send out the rules. One question per person. I'm just totally kidding.
Okay, hold on. Okay, so I wanted to ask at what time do you wake up every day, and how long did it take you to build that routine that you have going?
All right. So, Brett, now they're really going to know that I have screws loose. I don't even know if I want to answer this question. You guys might say, okay, he's certifiably nuts. I'm not talking to this guy anymore. Okay. I wake up at 2:24 every day. Now, however, let me explain this. I do not recommend to anybody, okay? I'm not recommending to anybody that's on this Zoom call, do not do what I do. Do not wake up at 2:24. Here's the reason why I do it and why it started. Because I travel so much, okay? When football season comes and all these, I'm on a sideline every single Saturday. So I'm with the teams on a sideline. I'm in the locker rooms. I'm engaged in the game. During the week, I'm doing corporate work. So just the demands of my schedule are very high. And so, as I mentioned earlier, that first story that I told, I love taking my kids to school. So my routine has to be finished by 6 a.m. so that I can make my kids breakfast, help get them ready for school, take them to school, and be a present and focused father. It's a sacrifice that I make. And so I sacrifice a little bit of my sleep in order to do that. And I've just found over time that there's a routine that works for me. And the routine is it's reading, it's working out, it's organizing my day. It's sometimes I like watching documentaries. It's a way for me to learn. And so I wake up that early so I can get my entire routine in, so that when I hear the pitter patter of my kids' feet, although no, it's like stomping now at 14 and 12. It used to be pitter patter when they were little kids. But now when I hear that, I'm engaged with them as their father because I have so much time away. So that's why I do it. It started at 6:30 in the morning about 12 years ago. And then I increased it by 15 minutes, another 15 minutes. Back to Brett's question, Israel. You know, if you were to say, oh, that's awesome, I never want to be 2:24, but I'm going to start waking up at 4:30, and right now you're at 6:30. Look, I study the brain. I understand human performance. It's probably not going to last very long. I would rather you say, hey, one day I'd love to wake up at 4:30, and it takes you a year to build that discipline. 15 minutes for a couple weeks, another 15 minutes, another 15 minutes, another 15 minutes, and work your way up to it. You increase some disciplines, my workouts, my eating, my nutrition, my reading. You try all these different things until you build and understand you need that time, so you understand why you're doing it. So you got to build to it. Don't hit it with just this big swipe, because most people, they just won't remain disciplined. And I would rather you build significant disciplines by trying different things. There's actually one of the sections in the playbook is called Your Prize Fighter Day Morning. And it actually goes through how the next level of your success is a math problem. And so it talks about morning routine and taking some of your time back, and how that time actually equals additional days over the course of a year because you wake up earlier. So just to tie that together, nobody wake up at 2:24. I do not recommend that to anybody. However, I do recommend that you establish a morning routine that allows you to control your mindset, connect to that burn. That's typically one of the most important pieces. And then you understand, because you control your mindset, you also control the action that comes after. So Israel, I appreciate the question.
Thank you.
Real quick, I want to finish with a final story because I want to be respectful of everybody's time. I do just want to mention one more time, if somebody hopped on later, didn't capture it, our team created that unique link for freeplaybook.net, which will give you the ability to grab a free copy of your mental toughness playbook, as well as it'll give you the opportunity to immediately be enrolled in the Mental Toughness Forum August 2nd through the 6th. Brett, do you want me to finish and then turn it back over to you?
Yeah, yep, perfect.
Okay. So really what I'd like to do is during times like this, one of the other things that I always lean on, I lean on my mentors. I lean on my coaches. I lean on those individuals who help me understand that there's great strength in me when I feel weak. There's great strength in me when I don't want to do it, right? When the market goes down and I see that my wife's and my investments have gone down, like, you don't like seeing those things. When business is tough, when people's budgets for events to bring me in, I'm not the cheapest guy around, I can tell you that. It's hard. You hear more no's during times like this than you hear yeses. It's very hard. It's not easy. I have to lean on my coaches and those mentors to help me through the tough times. I lean on a guy like Brett Baird, who every time I see him, he puts a smile on my face. He wants to win. I want to win. That they feel good when we share that energy. He's not quitting. I'm not quitting. We're going all in. One of the individuals that I lean on, his name is Ed Milet. Many of you probably are familiar with Ed's work. Tremendous motivator, one of the most successful businessmen in the history of the United States. Just came out with a book called The Power of One More, which I would highly recommend. You see, I sell other people's books, but I give you mine for free. He did write a book called Max Out Your Life. It's this tiny little, it's almost like a pamphlet. And I just want to share the final 2 pages of this book because I think it really encompasses everything that we have talked about together today. And it's kind of a final push for you to choose to stay in the game. So I'm going to share this with you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the opportunity to spend time with a group that wants to win right now, who wants to stay in the game. Just remember, that happens when you connect to your burn and you choose to live to your standard and you stay connected to great individuals like yourselves. Everybody you see on the screen who wants to stay in the game. So here are Ed Milet's words. These aren't my words. These are Ed Milet's. These are my 2 favorite pages from any book that I've ever read, and I read books every day. Don't let the average set a ceiling on your capacity. Don't let the fears of others be your fears. Don't let the lower expectation of others set the bar for what is possible for you. Make decisions, set standards, and take actions that'll get you closer to becoming the best version of you and the person you were born to be. You have it within you. I'm no different than you. I wasn't born with a magic gene that you don't have. I just wanted to win so bad that I didn't allow anyone or anything to steal my dreams. Procrastination is a thief and fear is a liar. You were destined for a life of abundance and prosperity. Expect to win. Never again allow fear to stop you. You've made no decisions until action is taken. I am chasing down the ultimate version of me. The day will come when I get face to face with that destiny version of me. I want the satisfaction of knowing I spent a lifetime chasing down that man, and in the end, I caught up with him. I want you to push yourself now more than you ever have in your life. You have so much more in you. You have gifts and talents that you've likely not tapped into because you just didn't know how. Maybe you just need a different environment to utilize them or a mentor to help you discover them. Maybe you just need someone to believe in you. Take immediate, massive action and go win. Go win one day at a time together. Baird team, all the strategic partners, stack one day at a time, stay in the game, and go win together. Brett, I appreciate the opportunity.
Yep, thanks for being on. Guys, do me a favor in the comment section. Can everyone just rate it quick 1 to 10? I want to just use this feedback. And also, who's down for this I want to do this every quarter with the same group of people, all the guys I work with and want to work with and have worked with in the past. Who's down? You and Alex? All right, good. Awesome. Well, we'll keep it organized and we'll keep in everyone's ear about it and just let you know when the next event is. And again, you guys could have been doing any other thing except for this today, but we're all making the conscientious decision that iron sharpens iron and we're going to do it together. So thank you guys so much. We appreciate you. And we'll see you back in Denver soon.
Appreciate you guys.